the opposite of self-care is self-betrayal.
Yeah.
And I remembered in that being like, oh, I get it. I actually understand the pathway to growth. And because I do know that only things that are cared for grow. I do know that like that plant can't grow unless like you give it the care of sunlight and water. Like I do know that. And I do know that we are more similar to a plant growing than a phone that's ringing.
Yes.
So I always kind of think about, how do you access care? But care feels so abstract, obviously. And so when I started to get that you could just, as long as you knew you were going away from self-betrayal, then you were going towards care, I realized that I was like, oh, if you're really intentional, and almost in like a cutthroat way, because like, you know me, I'm very
You love a snip. Yes, I snip. You do. You love a snip. So do I.
Yeah. We do. We will cut.
And going back to what we were first talking about when you were talking about gossip and the difference in gossip and working something out. The reason why you and I have those great morning phone conversations are because, listen, we're talking about being intentional and doing things, walking away from things that don't serve us. But it's not like that doesn't happen, It's not like we don't find ourselves in those scenarios. Yeah. So being able to find someone that does know you in a way that you just maybe has picked up on something. Like I think you are someone that can actually just remember something that I've probably said in passing that I don't even remember about myself. And so if I'm in a scenario or I'm with people or any sort of situation and I call you the next morning and I'm like, I need to work something out. I was here and it really didn't make me feel good. And why didn't that happen? And, or why did that happen? This happened and, I was feeling this way and, I'm not sure. Having someone who knows you and knows the person that you want to be, being able to tell you as an outsider, let me tell you why this didn't work out for you. You put yourself in a scenario that was not serving you. Yeah. And I can tell you that as an outsider, I think sometimes you're too in it. And so like working out things with somebody in a safe space who knows you and knows the person in the life that you want to live is so important.
Well, also what few people will tell you is that you often get hijacked out of doing what's right for yourself.
Yeah.
Like it's an opportunity comes, you think you should want to do this. There's some, small part of your insecurities that just gets, shot up into this room or into this space or around these people, or some nostalgia that makes you want to do. I mean, there's a million different ways that land you in a space where all of a sudden the person that you are who's done all this work on themselves or is trying to be intentional or is like, wait, hold on, what the hell am I doing here?
Yeah.
And I think that's when having a friend who can hold you accountable is so helpful, because they can be like, no, actually the last time you went there, you said this about the same exact group of, people, thing, whatever. And, how many times do you need to keep going there to realize that it makes you uncomfortable or it's not right for you? Or one of the best pieces of advice you ever gave me recently, I actually have two things I always quote you on, but this one's newer, is
oh God.
Are you scared?
Yeah.
You're like, you said your friends are allowed to get on your nerves. Because what happens is sometimes you're so annoyed with something that happened and the person is like and it's not even maybe the person, but with your own stuff, you're so annoyed. And we tend to want to raise the stakes all the time to be like, they're good or they're bad or this was wrong or this was right. And there's so much injustice collecting in that. And then all of a sudden, if you're collecting injustice, you think you're God. Yeah. That's just, there's no other way around it. And so all of a sudden you're God because everyone's wrong or right or whatever. And so then all of a sudden when your high and mighty feelings about yourself start to melt, as they will always do, and you kind of come down to earth and realize you're not God and everyone's a person, you realize that, oh, they were on my nerves, and that's actually what rattled me up.
Yeah.
And
the role that you play in that.
Yes. Yeah. And that was that kind of simple idea was so profound for me, because I was like, yes, you have to, like, even I remember saying that to Simon recently, For those of you who don't know Simon, he is my baby daddy. And I was like, he's saying something to me, and I was like, I don't want to talk. And he's just like, and then he's trying to make it something deeper. And I was like, it's actually not deep. You're just on my nerves. Yeah. And that was liberating, like, to say, because you have, and it was relatable. Like, all of a sudden to him, he's like, oh, I got it. And then like a week later, it'd always be like, am I on your nerves right now? I'm very Simon.
I'm very Simon.
Yes. And I was like, but it was such a, it was a care tool. Like, I was like, oh, like, acknowledging that you're on my nerves, you're not, but that doesn't mean that it's changing our relationship, or it's changing our this, or it's doing any of those things.
Yeah.
That was like kind of profound for me, because I think a lot of the times I'm like, this was on my nerves, and now I have all these decisions about what our relationship is or isn't, or how they do or don't fundamentally understand me or not, or whatever. And in that becomes kind of isolating.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of, someone's a villain and someone's a hero, and that dynamic's annoying.
The hero villain game is very real. It's an easy trap to fall into.
Yeah.
And going back to what you were saying about people always challenging you, Sister Outsider is also one of my favorite books of essays. And I don't remember which essay it was, but Audre Lorde said, and I will never forget it, that you will constantly, over and over, be challenged to leave yourself. And that's actually not a bad thing. That is a part of life, and it carves you even deeper into who you are as a person. And that is something that has stuck with me since I read it, because I stopped looking at it as a bad thing. Yeah. I stopped walking in the world and feeling taken down every time I felt someone didn't see me, or like I was being asked to do something that I didn't want to do, or maybe even fell in to being in a situation that wasn't serving me. Yeah. It ends up serving you, because you go even more into yourself, knowing that that is not right for you.
I remember doing a meditation one day, and the person talking was saying, and if you've wandered, like, because obviously you're trying to meditate, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, the groceries, the laundry, and she's like, and if your mind has wandered away from presence, know that homecoming is always available. And that ended up being a huge theme in Remember Love, because and I think the first poem of that book is called Homecoming. And it was because in this more abstract way, and really practical ways, the idea that you are always allowed to come home to yourself was such a relief.